Hello everyone, welcome back. So I'm just gonna jump right in. So starting off with this little piece of wood salvage, I'm just gonna create something that will sit above my stove in the kitchen. So I'm gonna keep this super easy. I picked up these cute little nutcrackers from Ross for $5.99 for a pack of 3. All I plan on doing with these is cutting off the little hanger. They are ornaments. I'm not going to use them as ornaments, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut the hanger off. Here is the pack that they came in. It was a 3-pack for $5.99. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut that off and then go ahead and glue them down to my piece of wood salvage. So I'm also going to be using these bottle brush trees that I picked up from Dollar Tree. These are like the ones that come in the 6-pack for $1.25. I'm just going to go and arrange my little nutcrackers and my tree before gluing them on. So when it comes to my nutcracker, I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit of glue and attach it to my wood salvage piece. And for the trees, I do remove the base and just drill bit some holes, and that is where I stick my little tree into with some glue. And that is basically it for this one. I continue to add my little trees, and I did plan on adding lights, but the strand of lights I had was too long, so I ended up doing it without. And that is it for this one. Let me know what you think. So for this project, I picked up this beautiful card from the Goodwill bins. I love the image on it. My style this year for Christmas was very kind of Victorian inspired. So I'm just going to go ahead and repurpose this card and just frame it out. So I am using a Dollar Tree canvas. I'm going to trace it out, and that is what I'm going to use for the back of the frame. The frame that I picked up from the Goodwill bins didn't have a back, so that is why I'm using the Dollar Tree canvas. So I'm just going to go ahead and attach my picture to my canvas with some glue stick. And then I'm just going to pop this right back into the frame, add a couple drops of hot glue to the back just to attach it. I don't add too much glue in case I want to change this out for the season and reuse my frame. So I don't add too much glue just to keep it in place for the time being. And that is basically it for this one. Next up, this simple makeover is from the Dollar Tree with these LED battery operated candles. The color on these is a true warm. In my opinion, I've struggled this year finding true warm twinkle lights, or anything that says warm is just not true warm. I don't know. They're all just so bright to me. But anyways, all I'm going to do with this one is go in with some rub and buff and color in that base on these candles. And these are actually battery timed candles, which I didn't even realize that when I bought them. And just knowing that, I went to buy some more for my Christmas tree, and I just stuck them in there and wrapped some of the tree parts around it. And they look so nice. I just didn't feel like splurging on the candles I do want for my tree until next year maybe. So as far as the gold, that is all I do. You can add some antique wax over the top of this if you wanted to age them up a bit. But I do plan on setting these on top of some nutcrackers with a wreath right over this base. So this part is really not going to show all that much. So I am perfectly okay with the rub and buff itself. So just to give them a little something, I'm going to add some drips of hot glue just to make it look like the wax is melted and making them look a little bit more realistic. So I add a little bit of rub and buff to the drips, and that is basically it for this one. Super easy. Let me know what you guys think. And I forgot to mention that I do add a clip of them on my tree. I just didn't do the rub and buff on them just yet once I added them to my tree. This was just before I did anything else to them. So next little flip is going to be this cutting board, or I guess it's like a decor cutting board. I picked it up from the Goodwill bins. I'm just going to do a quick coat of paint in the color plaster from Waverly Chalk Paint. This paint is very thick and has very good coverage, so I'm only doing one coat. Then going in with my sanding block, I'm going to go ahead and distress the edges just to expose some of that beautiful wood underneath. So I'm going to use this transfer from the Crimson Velvet IOD book. I'm just going to set it down and make sure it is centered before I let it touch the surface. Once it touches the surface, it is just going to stick to that surface. I'm going to go ahead and use my little tool that comes with the IOD transfers and give it a little pressure, and it will release from the transfer sheet. And just using that same transfer sheet, I am going to varnish the top of the transfer just to make sure that there isn't any loose pieces and that it is all adhered to my cutting board. And just to protect the transfer and the surface of this board, I'm going in with some bare white wax to seal it all in. So to embellish this, I'm going to use these pieces of greenery I picked up at the Goodwill bins. It was actually I think it was like a garland or something that was a little bit on the rough side. So I just went in there and picked out a couple of the greenery pieces from it. And that is what I'm going to use to embellish the top of my board. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this with some jute to create a little bow. And that is basically it for this one. So next up, using this little aluminum can I picked up from the Goodwill bins, I'm going to add a little piece of floral foam in there, and I'm just going to create a little simple Christmas scene on top. So to cover that floral foam, I'm going in with some hot glue and adding some moss right over that. So I want to use this Santa head cutout that I picked up from Hobby Lobby, and this little piece of, I don't know, like photo wire. It was a photo holder. I just cut a piece off of it, and that is what I'm going to use to attach my Santa head. I'm going to go in first to add in my trees, taking the base off of my bottle brush tree that I picked up at Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to go ahead and stick it into my foam. And before I glue my trees in, I'm just going to decorate them with these little gold balls that I picked up at, I think, Hobby Lobby or Dollar Tree, not sure. So I just add a little bit of glue and attach them to my tree. So I added a little bit of glue and just added them to my little aluminum can. So I added some little bows to my tree, and then moving on to my little can here, although you don't have to because it kind of goes with just the salvage look of this piece, I'm just gonna cover the little holes that it has in the can with some red ribbon. So next I'm gonna go ahead and stick in my little I guess the picture holder piece. I added a little bit of glue and I'm gonna stick it right into the foam. And before I add my Santa, I'm going to go ahead and add some puffy paint to highlight some of his details. And then I'm going to add some glitter just to give it a little bit of dimension. Then I add some glue to the back of Santa and attach him to the picture holder. I did plan on just kind of just sticking it into the little holder, but then I just decided to add some glue and attach him that way. And moving on, I'm gonna make some little hymnal rolls just to add in some smaller pieces into my booth. And I'm gonna start out by adding some of this Gorilla Glue to the edge so I can start rolling my hymnals. So I add some glue to the inner part of the rolls, and then I just glue 3 of them together. So before I add on the third roll, I add on the hanger so it can be in the center of my rolls versus on the outside, just to give it a more cleaner look. And using a couple of those greenery pieces that I got from the Goodwill bins, I'm just gonna add a couple to my rolls just to give it a little embellishment. I wrapped these with some red ribbon, and I added these little bells that I think are like mini ornaments or something. I just added them to the center with some glue, created a little bow, and we are all done. And the last makeover for this video is going to be this little gold trinket box. I've actually had it for a while. I'm going to just make a little scene inside. It does not have the glass. That's how I found it. I'm just going to repurpose it for Christmas. So here I have this greeting card. I love the scene on it and the little house with the snow and Santa going across. I'm just going to trace out the inner circle where the glass used to be. I tried to get as much of Santa and the reindeers as I could, but for the most part, the house is in there. I'm just going to go ahead and trace it out and cut that out. And to my surprise, it fits perfectly. I just had to kind of push in some of the corners. Now, I have to cover the back of my card with some fabric, because as you can see, if you close the box, it is going to be just a white cardboard. So I am covering my greeting card with some adhesive spray, and I'm going to use this velvet fabric just so the back has a nice cover and it's not just cardboard. So I add some glue and just pop my card in there. Now, some of the glue did seep out, and I cover that with some, it's like tinsel ribbon, just lining that on the outside of the card to cover up where the glue came out. And once I'm done with this, you actually won't even be able to close the lid. But just in case this is set on a table or something, I do want to have a pretty background. So here is the little tinsel ribbon. I did want to add lights, but again, my lights are too long for this little piece. So I just went ahead and did it without. And this ended up doing the trick to cover up the glue that seeped out from underneath the card. So to add some height to create my little scene, I'm just adding some floral foam with some hot glue, and I did have to stuff some smaller pieces to the corner just so I can have something for my trees to go into. There's probably a better way to do this, but this is just what I had on hand, and it worked out perfect. So to cover the foam, I'm gonna add some of this fake snow. I think this is from Dollar Tree. I do end up putting some glue under this, just because I don't want this all over the floor and stuff. So I do end up adding some glue just to attach it. So instead of those pink trees that I showed in the beginning, they were a little too big and they were just covering up too much of this little scene. So I'm using this smaller trees. It's the 6-pack from Dollar Tree. I'm just gonna stick one on each corner of my box. So I picked up this little figurine from Dollar Tree. It comes in a 3-pack. It's in their little village section. I'm gonna glue him to the middle and then just add the little lights right in front of the tree. So if I had to change anything about this, I think that I would add my pieces first and then add the snow. Being that the snow was there, the glue did struggle to stick. And if you have any glue seeping out, you want to be able to cover that with some snow. So I would do the snow after I get all my pieces on. Now, I will say that if I was earlier in the season and I had other pieces to a more better Christmas village, maybe something thrifted, I would probably use that instead of the Dollar Tree ones. But for now, we're gonna leave it at this, and I probably will end up changing them. So to finish this off, I'm going to go ahead and wrap some ribbon around my little trinket box. I know it covers most of it, but if I decide to change it, I can go ahead and remove the ribbon. The glue is not really that hard to remove. I may or may not add some lights to this. I think it would be really pretty if I did, but we'll see. That is basically it for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed what I created here today. So please subscribe and follow for more, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.